I'm Kylie Olsen. Now, one of the most ferocious performances you'll see over a download weekend is without a doubt from Slipknot. And here with me now is Clown. Or should I call you Sean?
It's really your own preference. It's what you feel. It's what you feel when you look at me.
So Sky Arts are broadcasting 2 headliner highlights programs on the 5th and 6th of June, which is the weekend that Download was scheduled to take place this year. Slipknot are just some of the incredible artists that we're going to be featuring in the show. So I'd love to hear some of your memories of playing at Download. So I guess it'd be great to start at the beginning. Do you remember the first time you performed there, and what did you think about it? Because I know that I remember that year that you performed there for the first time, and it was quite a special year.
You know, we're very blessed in that every year we've been asked to come back has been special. The first time we played it, just to be completely honest, we always take every festival very serious, and we're always very honored to be asked or be able to say that we've played a new territory, a new location, whatever. So really the first time, you're not really thinking about how you're going to do it a bunch more times. Mm-hmm. And it's going to kind of be like a home for you. So the first time was like any other show, you know what I mean? It's just kill during the show, just like hurting ourselves, pushing ourselves to a point of no return. And that's kind of our way. And then, I can remember how it was. We're very intense on ourselves before we go out there. We expect a lot out of ourselves. Don't really have anything to prove to anyone but ourselves. So I can remember, though, the first one getting off and knowing that we sealed the deal. And that's always, there's a lot of us. And sometimes, as any band knows, it can be difficult to get everybody on the same page and just ride that emotion, that color. So I can remember the first one just being, pure poetry. And then it just started from there, and you can imagine, just to kind of summarize it, being asked again, there's another pressure. You're like, oh God, we hope that it's as good as the first one. So you're even harder on yourself. And then there's a third, and then there's a fourth. And then somewhere along the line, we just felt like this is our home. We can quit being so tough on ourselves. We should expect to have a good time for ourselves, because we keep being asked to come back. And it's such an important festival for us in our whole overall career. You know what I mean? There's now a lot of them. I mean, we've done a lot of festivals over and over and over, but somehow Download became very, very special for all of us, mainly the fans.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it, and you certainly set the bar with that first show that you did, which was in 2004, which was my first Download. And I remember being backstage, and it was crazy because Metallica were headlining, and Lars didn't turn up. So then Joey had to step in, which just kind of cemented for me this kind of, you're all on the bill, you're all bands, and you're actually all fans of each other as well, that you could just step in and play, play a headlining slot if you had to of other people's songs.
Well, you brought it up, so I can talk about it. Yes, a helicopter landed and a helicopter took off. Personally, I couldn't tell you who was on the helicopter because it's none of my business. But because Metallica had asked everybody from, Fleming to, Lars Tech, I believe, and, just all the other wonderful drummers. But to skip through it, probably one of my most memorable favorite times in my entire career. I like watching people succeed, and it really makes me happy. And I love that. I love watching people earn what they worked for. And I can remember, Metallica runs a really tight ship. You're not going to penetrate it for anything. So they take a practice room with them on tour. It's a giant sea container, At least it was at that time, if I remember right. It seemed like it was a sea container. And they had called Joey at some point to come in and practice some of these songs. So, you know, I guess some would say I'm an opportunist, but I like to consider myself sort of an oracle at times. So I followed with a camera, and I can remember they were in that sea container for what seems like at least 60 minutes. And I can remember just listening to Joey play all these Metallica songs, and at least 3/4 of them he didn't play on stage. So it was just like all those guys like being kids and just jamming in this like basement, so to speak. And they were seeing which ones they were vibing. And I can remember, like, I had my back against the sea container and I could feel the rumble of the bass drum and it was hitting my back. I just turned the camera off and closed my eyes. And I just thought about it. They wouldn't let me in. That pissed me off. To this day, I was still pretty pissed off, but nothing but total loyalty to them. They're like our friends. So I've always learned so much from them. And being told to stay outside was even better, because I just got to turn the camera off and think about one of my bros just ripping it up in there. And they played a lot of the songs that I was hoping Joey was going to play, but they chose what they wanted. And some of the songs that they did play, he didn't play. So I got to hear that, pardon me. And that really lit a fire. That like lit a little whole thing in us, you know? And they got us all presents. For, you know, Joey, you know, they got him one thing, but they got the rest of the band some things just to say thank you. And I thought, well, shouldn't we be thanking them? Like somehow I feel like we need to thank them. But anyway, that was a wonderful moment in time in Slipknot, and probably one of my favorite times ever. Just being a fly and watching the best of the best of the best of the best. Like, I mean, that was just surreal, you know, like I just remember all of us are like, what? Like, and Joey, you know, man, he's always was nervous to begin with. He loves the show so much that his nerves would always get sort of the best of him, because the will to want to play was so high. So you can just imagine how he was being in there with like his gods. You know, it's just, what a remarkable day. And it blasted it all off. It was like a time capsule for the future. You know, it's just like, so we were pretty honored and lucky, you know.
No, I remember hearing that rehearsal backstage and being like, this is nuts. Like, I'm sold on this festival. I love it. So yeah, it was a fantastic day for sure. So what did they get you? What were the presents?
Well, just to be honest, I believe Joey, I don't know. I don't want to say what everybody else got, because I'm not sure. I don't want to be wrong. But I know that I received a hunting knife. And it was a really, you know, it was even like cooler than maybe they thought, because, you know, like, you know, I was born and raised in Des Moines, so I spent a lot of time in the woods fishing, these sorts of things. So it was like right on the money, you know. It was a beautiful knife, and it had like maybe an elk handle. It's a little bigger than a deer. It was like an elk horn, beautiful. And I just remember, like, you know, you would think that maybe someone would give you a bottle of champagne or whatever, you know, all the typical bullshit. This was like heartfelt, you know, and had a little saying on it, little plaque, and came in a case. And it really, you know, again, it was like, whoa, you know, I feel like I got to reach in my pocket and give you guys some money for, you know, just letting us like learn and be a part of like legend status. But you got to remember, they're all our friends. So, you know, we just hope that everything was okay and that everybody was okay. And, you know, so it's just difficult. But when it was all ended and over with perfectly and everybody was safe and everything was back to normal. I mean, what a time in our life.
It's a lot of thought, like you said, gone into that gift. That's lovely, isn't it? It just goes to show what lovely guys they are. So as the shows are celebrating headliners, can you remember the first time you headlined Download?
We've always been tough on ourselves, and we take everything very seriously. So if we're asked to come back, you can imagine the amount of stress. But I can remember the expectations from the world of what it was going to be like to headline this after that magical moment. How do you outdo that? And so, right around that second, third, fourth Download performance, we started looking at who we were, and it just became a beautiful anomaly in our own heads. Like, that's us, we're really here. We really think that way. Still to this day, we're kind of like, oh shit. But we're not a band anymore. We're just a culture. We represent a thought process, and we're required like toothpaste. It's
a necessity.
It just ends up being a big family now, which is it's a wonderful thing in my life to get older and just have this community surrounding me, because I'm going to be old and I'm going to be in a wheelchair one day, and I need the community to remember that I am who I am and take care of me until I'm out of here. So
that's the great thing about Slipknot, though. If you're in a wheelchair, you just write it into the script. It's fine.
It's happened before. I used to sit out in a wheelchair, and then I dump him, and then he'd crawl like Frank in Hellraiser. It was just a disgusting display of like love for music. Yes. But anyway, yeah, very personal with our fans. I can't tell you how many stories I have of just fans. I've been on a street with no Uber picking me up, maybe a few cocktails, and just some weird car staring at me. And I'm like, I better go regulate this. And I go up and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're just like, do you need a ride, clown? And I'm like, give me a ride to my hotel and I'll buy you dinner. These sorts of things happen, and I love it because then I get to learn firsthand about my fans, our fans. And then they get to firsthand pick me apart. And it's just always a beautiful thing. So at this point, with 20 years, there's just so many lovely people in our life that are actually, I look forward to seeing. That's been a very difficult thing here in the pandemic, I can imagine, for most people. I'm used to taking a couple of years off in between albums. So for me, it's been 1 year and some months. It hasn't even really scratched the surface of what I'm used to taking off. So I've got to analyze the rest of the world as of recently on what's really going on. But I think it's a really special moment in time, because I think we all thought one thing, and then while we were being required to be safe, we started thinking about what it's all about. And now what's most important is, what are we going to do with it now that it's opening up? What are we going to do with what we learned, what we took for granted, what we need to do more, what we need to do less, the garbage on the street, the dolphin in the ocean, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to be a really cool time. So for us, right now we're recording a little bit, and we're going to be back soon, real soon, I'm hearing, and it's going to be wonderful to be back with the community and just to see in everybody's eyes where we want this to go for the duration of our lives, because there's not a chance in hell that anyone didn't learn anything. I mean, everyone's had to learn something, right or wrong, happy or not. It's going to be a wonderful time to be back out there for music, because there's going to be such a wonderful necessity for it, and love and appreciation. Not that there wasn't.
No.
But man, it's just special times are coming.
There is, for sure. And I'd love to hear more about the music that you've been writing. So tell me, because I was wondering, like, you are so creative, you're directing, you're acting, you've got side projects, you've got Slipknot, you do photography. Like, there's obviously there's been this last 12 months, this huge creative void for you in that sense. I was wondering, how have you been, channeling it? So obviously writing new music and stuff. So where are you with it?
Well, it all starts, not to put a downer on it. It's just something I'm trying to talk about more because it's good for me. But it all kind of starts a little bit with We Are Not Your Kind, really not starting for myself in a very positive potential. We lost a family member, and you can imagine. So that happened at the first part of the cycle before we even went on the road. So I feel like the gates of my life were pretty much flooded and closed and beyond control. And then, of course, Corona hits, and then We Are Not Your Kind is pretty much just over, so to speak. Blessing for me. I can't speak for anybody else. I can't and I won't. But for me, what a blessing, because my mother always told me that one day I was going to start gardening, and that's immediately what I did. Is I went right into the garden, and I listened to my mom's voice and my dad's voice, and I grew sunflowers for my daughter. And so I could get all the seeds and give them to the fans, and the fans are going to be able to go out and grow sunflowers wherever they want. And maybe one day I'll roll by and, no. So as you can imagine, it's been a very emotional year for me, because I took time to think and to cry and be upset and talk and listen to birds and look at caterpillars and have dirt in my nails and scream why, and all these things. And at the end of it, really, music's there, right? So I was able to get a little studio done in my basement, something I've wanted forever, and just kind of solidify all the ideas. And so I like to think that I approached everything with a lot of love, and it was very difficult, as you can tell. I'm not very good with these emotions with people, but it's something I need to work on. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I want to help our fans know too. Like, you don't need to hide behind a mask or all these things. I never have, but the truth is, I really wanted to concentrate on love, and I want to concentrate on what I've been doing. And what I've been doing is nothing but Slipknot. So what I started doing was solidifying all these hobbies, side projects, things. And I decided just to bring my whole being to Slipknot, no matter what it was. So if it's a Carolina Reaper pepper I'm growing, I'm going to put it in Slipknot whiskey and sell barbecue sauce. It's all Slipknot now. I'm not jamming. I'm not doing anything. I'm trying to consolidate my life. And that's what the garden did. And that's what my daughter's voice did. And then I was able to find myself into my studio. It's a very small place. It's not 1 centimeter bigger than it needs to be. And it's my vibe. So if you go in there, you're like, oh shit, this is a clown world. I call it the wormhole for right now. I do a podcast. And I think a lot of people misunderstand what I said recently, that I didn't want to do the podcast. The reason why I didn't want to do the podcast is because it's so personal. And I'm a very emotional person in the last year, and it can take anything to just make me lose the water in my eyes. So I knew going into a podcast that it might be, I might get my ass handed to me. I might be crying and saying things nobody's ever heard the clown saying. So it really scared me. But anyway, that's what the year has been, is confronting these fears. And I would have never been able to do it without the community known as the Maggots or Slipknot, whatever you want to say. And I was able to get into my basement and have some really good friends, mainly band members, come in, the ones that could. And we made it work. And we, I'm not going to talk about how many songs, because honestly, it's just, I can't. But I can just tell you that, I'm really happy, and the guys are really happy. Taylor is on some level of singing that I've never heard him, which makes me really emotional, because here we are, here we are 20 years into it, and it's just, it's life, it's so almost not fair how much of life it really is for me, So that's what I did. I just fought back, and that's what I've been doing. So great music has been written, and because of that, my favorite singer on the planet has sang the songs, and this is the first time we could go into a studio with completed lyrics. And when I say completed, I mean written, recorded, but he's still going to have his time in the studio to project what he wants to for each individual song. So they're as done as they can be until he comes in. So we're in LA, that's about all I can say. And we're making God music and we're having a blast. And it's just great to be around everybody, and everybody's in the best mood I've ever seen. And the last thing I'll say about it is I feel like we've come full circle. I feel like I have all these memories of when we started. I feel like a kid again. And man, it's a lot of fun right now. And it's a lot of fun being around the band. And it's a lot of fun not being stressed or having anxiety and just doing what we do because we've done it for 20 years. And people finally are like, just do what you want to do. And that's unusual for us because it's usually me going, no, this is what we're going to do, whether you like it or not. And people are like, you know, so now it's just like, do what you want. And man, what a pleasant thing to receive after all these years. It's a beautiful thing. So that, I hope I answered some of what you, I try to get my way away from the tearjerker there for a moment. So I hope I concluded that for you.
No, you did. I'm just really happy that you had the time to kind of grieve and, you know, and all of that. So I'm pleased to hear that. And I love the idea of gardening as well. I think that's wonderful, the idea of you gardening. Is that some of your handiwork behind you?
No, we're at an Airbnb, but my mom was a master gardener, and she always told me, you know, I used to mow the lawn to get beer money. So I just roll right over my mom's plants, and I'd watch my mom give funerals to plants. Oh, and I'd sit in like a house and look at her, and I'd be like, God, you're pathetic. And just, you know, I'm a 17-year-old ruffian, you know, just anti-parents or whatever.
Yeah.
And I asked my mom, I'm like, why do you think I'm going to be a gardener? And she's like, because you're going to create life and you're going to get obsessed. And I was like, never. And I'm going to let you know.
Mommy was right.
When I made my garden, it's kind of a funny story because when I made my garden, my wife came out and she goes, what are you doing? Are you making an art piece or a garden? I got really mad. I got so mad because I hauled in all this lava rock and I went and reclaimed these trees and framed everything out. I made these hills and I had these rocks and I planted this Russian mammoth sunflower right in the middle for our daughter. I just had all this weird shit. And my wife was like, are you going to grow a garden or are you making some art piece? And I'm like, why don't you just settle down and see what I do? And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, this thing turned into this jungle of possibility. The neighbors were coming over. They're like, who are you? What are you doing? I was running this. I heard that squash get these like weird funguses, mildew. So I start running the squash out of the garden and down the yard. And I have ropes and I start running them over entryways and hauling these 5-pound squashes, hanging them. Like I was on some weird level. I never take my shirt off, you know, because I keep my tattoos and stuff pretty private, but like I hadn't had a haircut in a long time. So my friend Griztronic, who's doing some engineering and helping us, you know, he came out to talk to me about dinner, and I just popped up through the tomato plants like, and my hair was like this, and I got no shirt. No one ever sees me, and I'm just like, and he's like, whoa, you know, it's like Apocalypse Now or something. So I really, it changed my life to like have my feet in the soil. I encourage this, you know, I really was talking to myself. I was having conversations with my daughter. I was having conversations with my parents in order to remember and actually feel. I'm pretty good at keeping my shit inside, you know, I'm pretty good at that. So I had to get rid of that. So I appreciate you. It was very needed. So yeah. I
no, that's good. A blessing in disguise, you know, with what's gone on the last 12 months. But one quick question about the album. You say that you got to make an album that you felt like you didn't have to prove anything. You could just make the album you wanted. So is it slightly different sounding to Slipknot sound, or?
I think what everyone would understand and agree on is that we, as the players or the artists that we are, we're always looking to solidify a certain awareness in us. So we've always pushed for being indifferent, you know, or not on purpose, but to have the right to fully get this out. And we believe that if we do, like I said, we have nothing to prove to anyone. We only have to prove it to ourselves. And I've always believed that our fans, our culture loves us because they can trust us. You know, they might not like what we decide, but they're like, at least you decided it and we're going to back it because you thought about it. So is the music different? The music's always different. I want to make different paintings. I don't want to create the same painting. Familiarity is good, but recreating the same thing is not, in our opinion. So what I can tell you is this for this album. I believe this album is the final album to exercise the right of what we're searching for. I think we're mastering it on this one. I think it's coming very easy. And like, it's a trust thing. You can imagine Slipknot started as one thing, as zero, and then the expectation of us is at 1,000,000%. And that's not an expectation we put on ourselves. That's the world. So we have to keep a clear mind on what it is we're trying to do and not get focused away from anybody else. You know, I think the songs people really love for Slipknot, we call them barn burners. And those are those, you know, songs like Surfacing, you know, just we affectionately call them barn burners. And, you know, that's what maybe the majority would like, but we sort of do that in our sleep. And if we only gave that to that Slipknot formula, that recipe, something would be lost. So what I can say is I believe that this collection of records, whatever it ends up being as an album, I really believe it's going to be the final, not an effort, but the final brushstroke of a thought process that we really started, Jim and I talking about a lot. We really started this sort of thinking on volume 3 and really picked it up on, you know, Jim and I were really able to pick up some sort of thought by creating Look Outside Your Window. It was another avenue for he and I to work together. And then, you know, all of us have something to say. And I believe this is going to be the last time that we have to feel like we have to get this thing out of us. And that's exciting because who knows what the future is then, you know? So is it different? They're all different, but they're Slipknot. We would never, you know, there's no need to purposely, we're not that way. We search our souls. So we believe that you're going to love it because we love it, I guess. So it's different, but I'll tell you, I've never heard Corey Taylor like this right now. I've just never heard him like this. I've just never heard him. I feel full circle. I almost feel like we're giving homage to everything we grew up loving. I can hear so much of what I grew up, but it's my favorite singer singing and not, I can't say, oh, you sound like this person or that person. I feel like I'm a kid sneaking a beer in a Kiss concert or something. You know, I'm 14, 18, whatever. Let's not say sneaking. Let's say 21. And I'm going to a Kiss concert at 21 and having a beer. I really feel like that right now. I'm having so much fun with the guys and just creating. And we're so chill and relaxed because we've learned so much.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I can't wait to hear what you've been cooking up. And
get ready.
I think we're ready. I think we're all ready for it. But, you know, and hopefully we'll see you at Download very soon.
It will happen. You know, all the great gents and all the lovely people, they're going to find a way. And, you know, like I said, we all, from all promoters to all bands to all fans, we all have a little adjusting to do. And it's not going to be a bad adjustment. It's going to be a good adjustment. I mean, you look lovely today, so you're making your adjustments.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? We're all learning how to do what we do the way we need to do it differently, but we all know we're still going to be like this when we get to see each other, which will be fabulous as well, you know. So we all got a little adjusting, but Download will be back, and everybody will be there to support. Imagine what that download's going to be like. You know,
that's what I mean. It's going to feel wonderful, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely. It'll be tears. You know, I keep saying God music because it's really, music is the only thing that's always been there for me day by day. You know, sometimes I don't even need to hear it to have my salvation in it. So imagine 90,000 plus, 100,000 plus people showing up to go, whew,
Yeah.
thank you. Oh my God. You know, I mean, like that's going to be, I've had visions of Corey Taylor not being able to talk, like coming out thinking we're going to, you know, like, let's go kick him in the face. And then just like for minutes and minutes and minutes. It's just like, cause that's the type of human being he is. You know, he's going to be like, let's get this done. But then overwhelmed. I've had visions of him just like looking back at us like, I need a minute. We can't just be the normal knot. We gotta take it, but we all will be, you know, you won't see it because we wear masks, but it's going to be a very beautiful moment. I had those visions the first week they told us we were staying home. I just looked to the sun, got in the dirt, and I was like, we will have that day. I'm going to stay alive. I'm going to work. I'm going to figure myself out. I'm going to help figure out the world with everyone else. And we're going to get back together for music because there's no way I'm going through life without being with our people and getting out what I need to get out. That's the end game. So it's been awesome. I can't wait. We love Download. Thank you. And yeah, everybody, if we're going to end here pretty soon, I just want to say what I always say. Much love to all of you out there. I hope you're all okay. I hope you're taking care of each other. I hope you're taking care of people you never thought you'd take care of. And we will be back together soon. That's a promise. And get ready. It's art as usual. And I can't wait to kick you in the face. So
we're looking forward to the kick in the face.
Yeah.